Low rumble, the sound of a train echoing under Manhattan's shadowy skyline visuals. Some empires are inherited. His was built from ashes. He wasn't a prodigy, he wasn't chosen. He was fired, humiliated, broke, standing outside a Wall Street tower with a pink slip in one hand and a pregnant wife waiting at home. Most men fall after that. He didn't. He borrowed $10,000 from his mother and turned it into one of the largest real estate empires on Earth. He built a $25 billion city suspended above a living rail yard, a place engineers said could never exist, a place critics said should never exist. He bought the Miami Dolphins, reshaped 2 skylines, and walked into rooms where even billionaires whispered his name. But every empire has a shadow. Behind the glass towers, behind the luxury, behind the applause were political storms, federal investigations, public outrage, lawsuits, whistleblowers, and tragedies no developer could escape. And as New York's office market collapsed, his fortune rose and fell like the very skyline he built. This isn't a comeback story. This is a battlefield, a story of a man who refused to lose even when the world said he already had. Stephen Ross, the tax lawyer who built an empire, and the billionaire who kept rebuilding himself from the fire. Screen cuts to black, a final whisper. Greatness comes at a price. Tonight, we count the cost. Stephen Michael Ross's story begins on May 10, 1940, in Detroit, Michigan. Born into a Jewish family, Stephen's uncle Max Fisher was a successful businessman who would later become the biggest inspiration in his life. From childhood, Stephen closely observed his uncle and understood the world of business. After graduating from Mumford High School and then Miami Beach Senior High School, he enrolled at the University of Florida, but transferred to the University of Michigan after first years, where he earned his Bachelor of Business Administration degree in 1962.
Originally, you went to the University of Florida?
I went there for the first year, then I transferred to the University of Michigan.
Okay, you liked the cold weather better, or what? Why did you do that?
Well, it was always a dream to go to the University of Michigan, and I didn't have the grades to get in right out of high school, so I was able to transfer, from Florida up to Michigan.
But Stephen's true passion lay in law and taxation. That's why he completed his Juris Doctor, or law degree, from Wayne State University in 1965. After completing his law degree in 1965, Stephen's first job was at the Coopers & Lybrand accounting firm in Detroit as a tax attorney. In New York, he first became assistant vice president at Laird Inc., where he handled a real estate subsidiary, and then in 1968 joined Bear Stearns' corporate finance department. Here he sat next to Henry Kravis's office, who would become a legendary private equity investor in the future. He was fired. That too when his wife Nancy was pregnant and there was no steady income at home. When Stephen Ross was fired from Bear Stearns in 1972, he had no money. Pregnant wife, no job, no savings. The situation was very tough. But his mother believed in him and gave him a $10,000 loan. By today's standards, that's approximately $67,000. But even back then, it was a significant amount. At that time in the 1970s, the American federal government was promoting affordable housing through generous tax incentives. Meaning if someone invested in affordable housing projects, they would receive big tax benefits. By the early 1980s, related companies had moved beyond being just an affordable housing developer. The steady income from subsidized housing had given Stephen Ross something rare in real estate: stability. During this decade, Ross focused on consolidation and credibility. Related expanded its presence across New York City, developing residential and mixed-use projects that blended middle-income housing with higher-end design. Ross began working with prominent architects, including Robert A.M. Stern, signaling a shift toward more ambitious and architecturally significant developments. By the late 1980s, Stephen Ross had quietly positioned himself as a serious institutional developer, trusted by banks, city officials, and long-term investors. Related Companies was no longer a niche affordable housing firm. It had become a diversified real estate platform. In the early 1990s, a brutal recession hit the United States. The real estate market collapsed. Developers went bankrupt. Banks seized properties. Construction across major cities came to a halt. Stephen Ross faced the same pressure, but he responded differently. Instead of hiding, he went directly to his bankers. He laid out the risks honestly, offered additional collateral, and asked for time. His transparency earned something rare in a crisis: trust. As Ross later said, "They believed in me." As the economy slowly stabilized, Ross began searching for a defining opportunity, one that could permanently change his standing in New York real estate. The site of the old New York Coliseum, built by Robert Moses in the 1950s, had become obsolete. The result was the Time Warner Center, completed in 2003 and later known as the Deutsche Bank Center. The Twin Towers combined corporate headquarters, luxury residences, high-end retail, and a five-star hotel, one of New York's earliest true mixed-use mega-projects. From 2003 through the late 2000s, Stephen Ross emerged as a master of large-scale mixed-use development. He refined a model that blended offices, luxury housing, retail, and public space while attracting pension funds, sovereign wealth funds, and institutional investors willing to commit billions. By the early 2000s, New York City faced a massive challenge on Manhattan's west side, a vast stretch of active rail yards owned by the Metropolitan Transportation Authority. Stephen Ross saw opportunity. He envisioned building not just a project, but an entirely new neighborhood constructed on a platform above live rail tracks. The idea required unprecedented engineering, political cooperation, and financial risk. By 2012, Ross secured the air rights, public-private financing mechanisms, and institutional backing needed to begin construction. Between 2012 and 2019, Hudson Yards rose from steel columns into the most expensive private real estate development in American history. In 2019, Ross faced intense backlash after hosting a fundraiser for Donald Trump, triggering protests and boycotts linked to brands associated with his business empire. That same year, the Vessel, a centerpiece attraction at Hudson Yards that opened in 2019, became the focus of national criticism following a series of tragic deaths. In 2022, controversy returned to the sports world when former Dolphins coach Brian Flores filed a lawsuit, accusing the NFL and multiple teams of discriminatory practices, once again placing Ross under national scrutiny. In August 2022, that scrutiny intensified when the NFL disciplined the Miami Dolphins and suspended owner Stephen Ross following an independent investigation into tampering violations. For Stephen Ross, this period marked another turning point. In July 2024, at the age of 84, he stepped down as executive chairman of Related Companies and launched a new venture focused entirely on South Florida, Related Ross. While remaining non-executive chairman at Related, Ross shifted his focus to a bold $10 billion vision, transforming West Palm Beach into a new financial and lifestyle hub. His estimated $17 billion net worth reflects an empire shaped and reshaped by market cycles. So what is Stephen Ross's legacy? Resilience after collapse. Creative finance turned into empire building. So friends, this was the journey of Stephen Michael Ross, a man who went from being fired on Wall Street to building one of the most influential real estate empires in America. From a $10,000 loan to affordable housing deals, from surviving the worst real estate crashes to reshaping New York with Hudson Yards and transforming Miami into a global sports and entertainment hub, his impact is impossible to ignore. But alongside his achievements came controversies. The Brian Flores lawsuit, political backlash, criticism over public funding, and the tragedies linked to the vessel. Stephen Ross's story reminds us that ambition can open doors, but it can also create difficult questions about power, ethics, and responsibility. Today, even at 84, Ross isn't slowing down. He's shifting his empire to Florida, betting billions on West Palm Beach, and proving once again that reinvention is part of his DNA. His legacy is complex, part inspiration, part caution, showing how modern empires are built, challenged, and rebuilt over time.